Hello, Hollywood Times viewers. Today we welcome Billboard-charting singer, songwriter, Naya. Hey there, how's it going, Naya?
Hi, it's going great. Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you dialing in from?
So currently, it's rare, I'm in LA for work, but I did just get back from my honeymoon in the Bahamas, and before I was in South America for my wedding. So
Well, congratulations. I heard that you were getting married, and I'm like, okay, we're postponing this until she gets back from her honeymoon. So how was the wedding and the honeymoon, first of all?
Well, thank you. It was really nice. It was really nice, chaotic and stressful. Yeah, I had all my family fly in, and I was definitely at the end of my rope at some points there, but it was really beautiful, and it was nice to be able to celebrate it with everyone. And so, yeah, now in retrospect, like, it was wonderful. In the moment, I was like, but
So now you're gonna have to write a little book about your wedding.
I have a feeling anyone who has a wedding can relate. Like,
Right?
it's just a chaos.
Well, once again, congratulations. How long have you two guys been engaged?
I've been with my now husband for about 5 years.
Your husband do?
He's an architect.
Oh, wonderful. Wow, that's a great career to have. Very
Yes,
cool.
I really wanted to be with someone who had nothing to do with the music industry. I was like, okay, anybody who's not in entertainment, I will date you. Yes. So no, there was more categories than that, but that was definitely one of the main things. And it's just nice to have a breather, to not have my work come home all the time. And,
Well, I understand you have a new song that's out, Closer Than Close.
Yes, I do. I do have a new song, and I actually, Closer Than Close, and I kind of released a little surprise single for my birthday that was just a song that was close to my heart, called Drive as well. Closer Than Close was the main thing, but I just thought, my birthday present to me is to release this single.
Oh my God, and that's called Drive, and that's out right now?
Yeah, that was like a little surprise drop, kind of last moment, but sometimes I gotta find my little joy in like what I do, and that was my birthday present to me.
So tell us what is Drive about, the song?
Well, so Drive is actually, Closer Than Close and Drive are kind of connected. They were made at like similar times, and they were actually both kind of in reference about my relationship with my husband. So Closer Than Close is more of a general feeling of like this kind of real, fulfilling, deep love. And Drive was like a little more of a specific snapshot of literally like my first months, like meeting my husband, and like the first trip that we took together, and kind of when we decided that we'd be serious, kind of. So there's just kind of a cool story about me going to the Keys, and I'm from Florida. And so it's a little more specific, which is sometimes nice to do. It's really nice to have the more general like songs, and then to have things that are very specific to your experience. So
yeah, well, you have a video for that one? You should have a video with you and your husband driving, right?
He's shy. I don't think he'd like that. He's always like, I recently posted him on my social media for our wedding. And that's the first time I really one of the first times I like posted him on my Instagram. He's like, but I was like, it's our wedding. But
good for you.
He's cool.
So then the Closer Than Close, that's part of they call it an EP.
Actually, Closer Than Close is the single that's likely going to go onto an album for next year.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
How many singles?
So it's currently in the works. Like, we're currently smoothing out the plans, because actually I created, in the last couple of years, I created like 20 songs. Like, I created more than that, but boiled it down to like producing out around 20 songs. So I have a lot of work like sitting and ready to release. And the question was, how am I going to release it? So the conversation with my team recently has been, okay, hey, like, some of this work is going to go for the album, and then some of this work is going to go to an EP for later this year, which is what we recently decided. So this one is going to go to the album, and then I'll be releasing an EP likely towards the end of the year. That's more a collection of songs that were a little more like intimate and like maybe on the sad's not the right word, reflective side. And I think they kind of group together nicely, whereas Closer Than Close has this kind of more upbeat spirit, and that's more the vibe of the album. So yeah.
Cool. And Closer Than Close, did you write that, co-write?
So I co-wrote Closer Than Close. So it varies. There's some songs that I like usually will write the majority of, or some songs I'll collaborate with. I'm really open. I think when I started, I was a lot less open to collaborating as far as the writing was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gone along, I've just realized there's just so many talented, interesting artists and writers here, you know, in LA, but in the world. And so I've realized how nice it is to collaborate, because they just bring something that you're not going to bring, right? They bring a different perspective, they bring a different style. So Closer Than Close is one of those that I collaborated with some really cool producers and writers on. Midian, she did Sandcastles for Beyonce. Brian Kennedy, he's done a lot for a myriad of artists, including Rihanna. You know, a whole list of interesting people who got to add to Closer Than Close, which was really cool.
Yeah, because he's done work for like Jennifer Hudson and Kelly Clarkson. So, you know, you're right up there.
Hopefully one day, right?
Yeah, you've got a very soulful, great voice. You know, I like it. It's not too young sounding or too old. It's just really a great voice that you have, you know, that you're blessed with.
Well, thank you. I really I don't think for me, I started singing when I was 16, and I wouldn't say it was like a natural gift. I think there's some people who just are always singing, and I had to really like train, you know, I had to really like work at it to sound good. And so yeah, I haven't stopped. I started at 16 and I have not stopped like really practicing and training since then. I think that there's so much more than technique to music. I think it's a lot about feeling, and it's a lot about like really being sincere. But I think that there's a backbone to the art of singing, you know, which people don't realize that they always pick it up, but is technique based. You know, sometimes people learn in church and that's where they're learning, but you always pick something up somewhere.
So you said you were 16. When you were younger, did you dream of doing this? Did you want to write songs when you were younger? What's your growing up like?
Well, I always loved writing, and my first love was reading. I loved reading. Like, I loved the library. I still love the library. And like when I'm stressed, I just go to the library. It's a weird quirk, but it makes me feel peaceful. So I really loved that. And so I started writing like short stories, and then when I was 16, I wanted to be in like the school musical, and I couldn't sing. And I was like I couldn't get into the regular play. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try for this musical. So I did like intense lessons for like 6 months. I did not get in the musical, but I did realize that I really loved singing, and I had loved poetry, and I had loved writing. And so I kind of was just like, well, let's try, you know. And I did this, I got into a program that the Grammys was kind of spearheading. It was like a new program at the time to develop basically like writing talent and artists outside of big cities. So I grew up in Tampa, Florida, which it's very nice, but it's not LA, it's not New York. And so I got into this program, and that really changed my life. I was really like introduced to what a music community felt like, and really creative, different styles. I fell in love with neo soul music. So yeah, that was really started me thinking, oh, I want to do this maybe for real. You know, I had always been very like academically minded. My parents were very focused on that. And it was the first time my gears were like, oh, okay, I like this a lot. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning of that.
I also read that you're like captivated by the expressiveness of classic performers like Frank Sinatra and Fred Astaire. That's pretty cool for your age.
Yeah, I love, you know, I think that's kind of my parents doing in a lot of ways, because, you know, I would watch like when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I'd watch like old classic Fred Astaire and Ginger Roger movies with them. And yeah, I just really got introduced to like this I got introduced to like Frank Sinatra, and like, you know, they play it by the pool, and something really just resonated with me. I remember watching one of the Fred Astaire Ginger Rogers movies, and Fred Astaire serenades Ginger Rogers with The Way You Look Tonight. I found it just utterly captivating. And that kind of started me off on like, I was like a 10-year-old who loved jazz classics. I still know almost every jazz classic. Sometimes it like scares me, like it comes on, like, oh no, that one. Like it's in the back of my head, it's stored there. But yeah, it's just such a wonderful, expressive way of singing and a time, you know, and the songwriting was simple but really good. You know, it's like so yeah, it's still one of my big influences when I write now.
And then like your video, I saw the video on you know, the one that you won't pick up the phone. That was a cool song, because I'm pretty sure there's plenty of us women out there that can relate to this song. So, and the video was so well done. Who produced your video?
That was Grant Spanier. He was the director, and so he was like, obviously there were other producers involved, but he really spearheaded the vision, and he does a lot of really cool work. Grant, so I really admire him and was really happy that he could take on that project. And I think it was cool to have like, to me the song functions on like multiple levels. Like part of it is like a literal won't pick up the phone, and the other part is a statement of like not giving into like depression, or not giving into those kind of inner demons that plague you, like you're very tempted to want to just indulge. And so that kind of this like crazy, wacky mental adventure that you go through in life, everyone is kind of visually represented in the video.
Do you enjoy making videos? Do you like it?
I do, and I don't. It's a lot of pressure, because you know there's a moment where you can't really know exactly how it's going to come out, right? Okay. So like you get everything set up, and they take the footage, and then it goes to the editing room, and there's this period of time where it's like, okay, like, you know, I've had a lot of videos that were cool, and then I've had a lot of videos where I was like, oh no, how did this happen? And you can't go back, you know what I mean? Like you can't go back and reshoot, or it's a new setup if you do it. So there is this like stress to videos for me that I feel like.
I mean, to me as a viewer, every video I see, they're just amazing. I'm like, God, that must be so much fun. And we don't realize what it takes to make one. And you know, we should appreciate it now that you've shared a little of what it's like.
It's cool. It's also crazy. It's like 12 hours, you know, like it's like Won't Pick Up the Phone was like a 2-day shoot. Of each shoot was 12 hours. So like by the time you're done with the shoot, everybody like, and it takes a lot of people to put it together, like the crew, you know, they're like the heroes, like they're the unsung heroes, like they're working their asses off the whole time, right? So like at the end, everybody's like, all right, time to go home, let's go sleep. But it's worth it in the end, because you do have this piece of beautiful visual content that lives on long past the work, you know what I mean? And a lot of people can then enjoy it, and it's another way to communicate what your song means. So it's a really cool medium for artists.
And I read that, you know, the video for Won't Pick Up the Phone had like 1.9 million views on YouTube. It's probably more than that now since I read this. So, you know, that's what a great video it was.
Yeah, it's great. It makes me really happy. I mean, it's, you know, every person who sees it matters, like really genuinely to me. I think sometimes in this day and age, it's so easy to get caught up with like statistics and numbers and social media and on videos, without really understanding that every person who viewed that is a person, right? Like that was actually one person watching your video, right? So I think sometimes it's like, oh, I don't have, you know, artists, it's really easy with the way the industry is to say, oh, I don't have enough. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this number is not enough. This number is not enough. But you can kind of forget to be grateful that like even one view is one person who literally just took the time to see your work. You know, attitude,
wonderful way to look at it.
Yeah, but
that's true. It takes one of us, and you know, and then sharing it with someone else. Oh, here, check this video out. You'll love it. You know, that's exactly. That's what I plan on doing. It's
well,
really
that's
good.
Great. Thank you.
Exactly. And then also your previous single, Hi, let's talk about that one.
Yes.
Where'd that come from?
Well, kind of related to social media. Yes. A statement about just kind of this idea that it's like a need to be constantly stimulated and constantly, like getting views and impressing people and producing content. And it becomes, I think for the modern day artist, it can feel very like, sometimes just draining, right? Because you go into music thinking, I love music. I want to create music. And then it's kind of like, hello, you've got to be a content creator. But, that's a very like a specific skill set in itself, and not all artists, I even say for me, I wouldn't say that I'm a natural born content creator, right? Where some people are just like, it's their freaking just their next mode. It's so easy. So I think a lot of artists can get down and feel like, hey, is it really like about my music, or is it about that 10-second video I posted to TikTok? It can, like, so it definitely for me, high was the iteration of that like kind of tension or that frustration and in a song. Like,
So with you probably, your social media now is like based for your career, to help you with what you're doing, as opposed to just being stuck on social media and not doing something else, right? Because you're busy writing songs and having a new husband now. So
oh yeah, it's an adventure. No, it is, I mean, it really is like a professional, like it is personal because it's me, but it is a necessity to my professional life. Everybody who looks at stuff is like, okay, let's look at the social media. And I think any artist trying to make a career work today can relate to this. Like it's very important. The weight that's put on social media is a lot, so you have to keep up on it, and it's part of the job, basically.
so you do answer your social media? You try to take care of that yourself, or do you have someone that helps you?
No, I do the most of my social media, and I always try to like keep things very like, for example, like even if someone is at a period helping me, it's like my writing and my content that they just post at a certain time, so that it's very authentic to me, because I don't want anything that's not representative of like what I really think and feel. I think that's important. I do think people want to feel like they're connecting to a real person, and I am a real person. So it's not like a, calculated thing. Sometimes I think maybe that's my problem, like that it's not more calculated, that it's not as like, oh, this is what she is, and I think sometimes that's what the industry looks for, like very specific molds, so it's easy to sell you. But yeah, I try to be as authentic as possible. And yeah,
that's how it should be. So what are your social media handles?
so my Instagram is at this is Naya, and that will help you feed into most of my other socials, so that's the main one I recommend. I obviously have my Spotify under Naya. So please go check out the songs and stream if you're listening. But yeah, I do my best. Like I put a lot of love into the content I create. Like I put a lot of purpose and love into it, and hopefully that reads for people.
And where does the name Naya come from?
So Naya is actually a reorganization of my initials.
Okay.
So it does have some connection back to my own name, given
Great.
name.
Very good. Yeah. Very good. So during this pandemic we had 2020, where did that put your career?
Interesting. Well, actually it was a big shift for me because I ended up going with my now husband to live in Uruguay. He's Uruguayan. So I've actually like lived part-time in South America and then part-time for work here. So that was a big shift for me. And I think it just allowed me the space and time to do some like self-work I really needed to do to help me grow as a person and therefore as an artist. And so my musical output has increased vastly due to that work I did on myself, as like artistically speaking and just personally. So at the end, I think it really helped me overall. Obviously there was a slowdown period, but I think it was, it was tough time for a lot of people. So I hesitate to say I know that it could be brutal for some people that period of time. But for me, it forced me to slow down. And I think I got to spend some really nice time with my now husband. And I got to spend some time just healing from things that happened on my own journey.
What did you get to do down there, during the pandemic? Were you able to go out and, were you in a lot because of it?
Well, we lived in the countryside of Uruguay, it's actually the countryside, but it's like on the coast. And in this old, it used to be an old fishing village. Now it's a resort town. It's called Jose Ignacio. It's beautiful. So we were just really in nature. Literally, you could just walk out and go on like hikes, and like there's beautiful sunsets. And I had my dog. I have 2 dogs. At that point, I had one, and I got another one. And just walk with the dogs and chill and really like enjoy each other's company. And it was pretty nice. Didn't have to worry about being around a lot of people, so you didn't have to stress as much about spreading COVID, getting COVID, that kind of thing.
And then how was it when did you get to come back to the States then, when it first hit?
So I was like kind of stuck there, because if I had left, I couldn't have been able to get back in for about a year and a half. So it was about a year and a half that I was there like straight. And so whatever work I did was kind of there. Like I did work, Zoom via online kind of thing, and then like posted my stuff. And then after that, I got to come back to the States, which at that point I had kind of, I missed my family. Like I hadn't been able to see them. So that was really nice. And I missed like the city life a little. So I got to come back to that. So that was really refreshing. But I think it was a nice breather to like the kind of competitive, like the music world lifestyle, which had kind of felt like draining when I had left before the COVID, Now I was like, okay, I'm fresh. I'm back. Cool.
Do your dogs travel with you too?
So the little one, the older one, used to a lot. Shelly, she used to come everywhere. She's like a little poodle schnauzer mix. And she's like, but the thing is that my husband is so attached to that dog that it's literally like, he's like, this is my dog. And so I now leave her with him. And then my other dog, he's a big guy, so it's a little bit harder to travel with him. And he, he's a border collie and he's so much energy. So better for him to be in the countryside running, chasing things than, cooped up in a plane and in a hotel room and, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Sounds like that's a beautiful place to stay over there.
It's very nice. It's almost too nice. It gets too relaxing. You're just like, oh, what day is it again?
Oh, wow.
Not being on top of your stuff, but it's beautiful. It's been a really nice, like it's definitely one of my favorite places I've ever been. And I really love it there. So, and he's, it's part of he's Uruguayan. It's not, so for him, it's not Jose Ignacio, but he grew up in the capital, Montevideo, and it's home. So there's another layer to that, obviously, like, I think it's nice he can spend that time near his family. And
how did you two meet, him being down there?
Well, he actually wasn't down there. He hadn't lived there in like 12 years.
Got it.
When we met. He spent about a decade in Paris, and then he moved to the States to do to work on a project that he had started in France. So he was just kind of overseeing some things to help out, and that's why he was here for a little bit. And so yeah, it was kind of just by chance we met in New York City. He was like on a kind of a layover, and all of our flights got canceled because of a huge snowstorm, like one of the worst in the last like 10 years in New York City. And my flight got canceled, same reason. And we met in a little cafe really randomly. Like our paths really wouldn't have crossed for any other reason, like totally crazy. And then we ended up meeting back up in LA because I worked here all the time and he was working and doing some other things here. And yeah, basically we connected and we ended up hitting it off, and we lived together for a couple years in LA together before leaving.
That's a Hallmark movie right there. You know that.
I know it's strangely romantic for us, because I wouldn't say that we're both like uber romantic people. We're like very like pragmatic, and but it was a surprisingly like romantic meet cute for us.
Oh, I'm sitting here wiping a tear off. It's like, oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no worries.
So well, let's talk a little bit more about the new single, but then you said it's all going to come out in an LP later this year, or when can we expect that?
So all of it's being firmed up, but the album will likely come out towards the top of next year.
Okay.
And the EP, like this kind of EP of the songs that I kind of felt like were more intimate and like fit together, will probably come out a little bit later this year.
This year.
So Closer Than Close will be on the LP.
So I know that keeps you busy, but will you be writing even more music now? Will you have time to do that as well?
Well, I always try to a certain degree to keep writing, because it's actually my favorite part of the process. So it's the part that I'm happiest doing. And so I'm always like trying to, even if it's not the main priority, even if the main priority is, okay, let's package the music, let's get the plan together, I'm still always kind of in the background, like writing and doing things.
Wow. Will you be going on tour? Do anything like that? Have you been out on tour or go out?
So it's definitely in the works, like to coincide with the releases.
Okay.
So like releases like a more smaller version of it for the EP later this year, and then something a little more elaborate and longer term for the LP next year.
Well, we look forward to that, and we continue to follow you for what's coming next. And we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. Do you have any closing words for us?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and listening to my stuff. I'm really always grateful for that. And I have a lot of cool stuff coming. I hope people like just keep checking it out because I'm really excited about what's coming.
I'll put all your social media so that all of our viewers can find you.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you.
You have a great day.
You too.